Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be testing out one of the most powerful picks for the upcoming Master League Premier Cup, and that is High Horsepower Mamoswine. Mamoswine got the move High Horsepower in the Season 13 move update, and it is strictly better than its previous move of Bulldoze. High Horsepower allows Mamoswine to actually threaten in the Metagross matchup, which gives Mamoswine a lot more versatility in the meta. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out High Horsepower Mamoswine in action in the Master Premier Cup. Hopping to the first match, leading Gyarados into the mirror. Considering that I have a Mamoswine in the back, I am pretty happy to see my opponent's Gyarados on the lead, as Mamoswine definitely does not appreciate the super effective Aqua Tails. I do run Dragon Breath specifically, so I do have better play in the mirror here. I fire off the Crunch, that's gonna land, and I'm gonna let this charge move through. My opponent goes for the Outrage, and that's nearly able to KO. So my opponent's spicy moveset definitely paid off. In comes Snorlax, and Best Buddy Snorlax is able to farm all the way down, and my opponent is going to send in their own Snorlax. I'm going to fire off a Body Slam, not really a point in throwing a superpower just yet, as my opponent is still extremely healthy. They continue to farm a ton of energy, and I'm not going to be shielding here because I do survive any one charge move. My opponent is going to go for the Body Slam. I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back superpowers and start launching them. Superpower number 1 onto my opponent does get the shield. I'm going for superpower number 2 to get some chip damage, and then it's up to Mamoswine. In comes Mamoswine. My opponent does have enough energy for a superpower. I will respect it with the shield. They go for the superpower, and in the back, it is Metagross. Now, this is a matchup where in the one shield, previously Mamoswine was unable to win, as Bulldoze would not do enough damage, but as you're going to see, with a successful bait, Mamoswine is going to be able to reach the High Horsepower, and with a little bit of chip damage from the Powder Snows, High Horsepower is actually going to be taking out the Metagross. Back in comes the Snorlax. Snorlax, with very precise counting, will fire off a Body Slam just before I reach the Avalanche. Body Slam is going to KO. I'm going to send in my Snorlax, and the nice thing is I should be outside of superpower range here, so even if they do go for superpower, which they do, my Snorlax is able to hang on. I reach the Body Slam. Body Slam will be taking out my opponent, and that is a good game. Picking up a pretty decent lead in the next match, Gyarados into Excadrill. Even though I'm not running Waterfall, Gyarados still has a lot of play in this matchup due to the fact that Aqua Tail deals a ton of damage to the Glassy Exca. Exca is going to strike first, going for the Rock Slide, and I'm going to return the favor with my Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will not KO, but it will get them low, so we do see a shield being used. I'm going to go for the Rock Slide catch, but my opponent holds onto their energy, and now they're going to fire off a Drill Run onto my Snorlax. Drill Run is going to land, and my opponent sends in Gyarados, and this is the exact matchup that I Best Buddy my Snorlax for, because a 15 attack Snorlax at level 41 reaches a Lick Breakpoint versus Gyarados that allows your Licks to do 3 damage instead of 2, which is a 50% increase in damage per Lick. Unfortunately here, I slightly mistime it. I meant to fire off the Body Slam just before they made it to their Aqua Tail, and unfortunately, by mistiming it, I end up losing that energy. I'm going to send back in my Gyarados, get a little bit of farm, fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail should be enough to KO. In the back, they have Dragonite, and Mamoswine with a shield advantage is about to feast. I have a shield advantage here, so I should be in the driver's seat of this match. I will shield up a Drill Run, I'm going to farm up, fire off the Avalanche before they're able to reach their second charge move. Avalanche is going to get the shield, and from here, all I have to do is just commit to the farm down, and I'll be able to leave with an Avalanche to one-shot the Dragonite. I will commit the shield on the Drill Run. My opponent is able to reach another Drill Run, but the good news is Mamoswine is able to tank it, fully farm down, and leave with the Avalanche loaded. Avalanche will be one-shotting the Dragonite, and that is a good game. Tough lead in the next match, Gyarados into Florges. I'm going to need to immediately save switch into my Snorlax, and interestingly enough, my opponent is staying in with the Florges and firing off a charge move. I'm going to let this go. They go for the Moonblast, it lands, and they get the attack drop. I go for the Body Slam, but they make a beautiful switch, catching the Body Slam onto their own Snorlax. So it makes sense why they stayed in. They wanted to get some nice chip damage before they brought their Snorlax into the mirror. I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back superpowers, and I'm firing off the first. First superpower is able to land, and I win CMP on the second. This is quite nice, as this will put my opponent pretty low. I'm just going to let my Snorlax go, and instead choose to get a nice farm down with my Gyarados. Superpower is going to land. I'm going to send in my Gyarados. Gyarados looking for the farm down. Unfortunately, they're able to reach one final charge move. I actually decide, you know what, let's get an energy lead. So I bring in Mamoswine, and I get one Powder Snow head start. In the back, they have Exca, and suddenly, this is looking very possible for Mamoswine to sweep. They fire off the Drill Run. I'm going to let that through, as I do know that I'm able to tank at least one. I'm going to farm up, fire off the Avalanche, and my opponent does have to start shielding here. Exca is glassy enough where I can go for the neutral Avalanches and still apply a ton of pressure in this matchup. They go for the Drill Run. I will commit the shield. I continue to overfarm, and I'm going to fire off another Avalanche. Decision time for my opponent. Are they willing to give up the final shield? They are not. They're saving it for Florges. Florges looking for the farm down, but it is pretty tough to Fairy Wind farm down. They go for Disarming Voice. Mamoswine able to double up with the back-to-back Avalanches. First one should be grabbing the shield. Second one is going to be able to land. Mamoswine is a ruthless closer. That gets him low. In comes the Gyarados. Snipe with the Aqua Tail. Down goes the Florges. And that is a good game. Great lead in the next match, Gyarados into Haxorus. Very happy to catch the counter user on the lead. My opponent is going to save switch into Exca, and honestly, I don't have a very comfortable swap here. So my plan is to stay in with the Gyarados, tank a Rock Slide, fire off an Aqua Tail to either get some chip or a shield, and then I feel a lot better about bringing in my Snorlax. I'm going to farm up here, switch into the Snorlax, and catch the Rock Slide. That's quite nice. Rock Slide, non-stab move, is going to do less than a potential Drill Run. Snorlax not quite able to farm down, as I will have to tank another move, but that's perfectly fine by me, as that means Haxorus is going to get less farm, but at the same time, I do have a nice amount of energy to potentially threaten the Hax. Hax is going to look to commit to the farm down, and I'm firing off body slams. First one is going to land. Snorlax able to reach a last second body slam number 2. This will get Haxorus very low. Haxorus is going to commit a shield. Shield advantage here is quite nice. In the back, they have Komo-o, and that is an incredibly cool pick. I will commit the shield here, as a close combat would be devastating. They go for the Dragon Claw. I'm going to fire off the Avalanche before they're able to reach charge move number 2. Decision time for my opponent. They're going to let the Komo-o go. They are trusting in Haxorus to try and win this game. This is a bit of a tough call here. I'm going to let it through. Dragon Claw, not enough to KO. Mamoswine able to hang on. Avalanche gets the shield. Gyarados has the Aqua Tail loaded. Energy on Gyarados is so useful in this cup, taking care of the Haxorus and securing the win. Moving into the next match, as we lead Gyarados into another Exca. Same game plan as before. I'm going to try and deal big damage or grab a shield with Aqua Tail before I eventually try and make a catch onto my Snorlax. Rock Slide is going to connect, and now I return fire with the Aqua Tail onto the Exca. Exca is going to commit the shield. I'm going to continue to farm, switch, and this time I do get the catch, catching the Rock Slide onto Snorlax. That is fantastic. My opponent is going to stay in here. They are looking to farm up some energy. They bank a Rock Slide for later and send in Dragonite. Dragonite, now that it has access to Superpower, is a bit scary for Snorlax to deal with. Snorlax fires off the Body Slam, and I'm going for Body Slam number 2 as well. Dragonite will be able to tank both of these Body Slams and not even be in the red. Dragonite continues to farm. They have so much loaded energy here. I'm just going to let this through. Dragon Claw gets me low, and I'm just not able to make the Body Slam. I'm going to send in Gyarados. Gyarados, it's going to be really close whether I survive the Claw. I'm just looking to tank the energy, switch into Mamoswine. In the back, they have Gyarados. I do have a shield advantage, which is good, but unfortunately, the Dragon Breaths are going to add up, and one Avalanche is non-lethal. My opponent is going to let that through. They recognize they're going to be able to survive that, and now I guess I have to double shield and try and commit to the farm down here if at all possible. I'm going to continue to farm. I decide against the farm down. I need to apply pressure onto this Gyarados. Avalanche gets the shield. My opponent is looking to grab my final shield as well because they have a move banked on their Exca, and Exca wins CMP over Mamo. So my play here is to try and catch. I go for the catch. Great patience from my opponent, and I lose CMP, and unfortunately, that will be game over. Hopping into the next match with Gyarados into yet another Exca lead. As before, I'm going to stay in this matchup, and I'm going to tank a Rock Slide. Rock Slide, non-lethal, and they just have no way of farming me down. Here, I'm going to go for the Aqua Tail right away. Again, look to apply pressure or grab a shield. Excas really like shield in there. I'm going to go for the catch, but it's a simultaneous switch. Snorlax into Milotic. Very happy to see Milotic here because Milotic is bad news for Mamoswine. I'm going to fire off the Body Slam. Body Slam will do some nice chip damage, but Milotic does have a nice amount of bulk. I'm going to fire off Body Slam number 2. This will be getting Milotic close to the red. Milotic able to hang on. They do have a ton of energy. I'm going to let this through. Milotic goes for the Surf. Surf will do some chip damage, but Snorlax is very bulky as well. They're firing off another Surf. Again, I'm not going to shield here as Snorlax is not going to be taken out. I'm going to fire off the Body Slam. This Body Slam will KO if my opponent decides to let it through, which they do. They're going to send in Exca. Exca does not decide to go for the farm down. They'll fire off a charge move at the last second. They go for the Drill Run. I'm going to send in Gyarados. In the back, they have their own Gyarados. And honestly, this is not great for me. I believe to win this game, I'm going to have to try and Powder Snow all the way down. If I can Powder Snow down and leave with double avalanches, I should be able to win this. But this is going to be a pretty tall task as I did not get a crunch debuff. So I'm just going to continue to farm here. The question is, can I farm down in 6 more Powder Snows? It's going to be close. Come on, Mamoswine. Get the farm down. Mamoswine just falls short. Gyarados makes the third Aqua Tail, takes out the Mamoswine, and unfortunately, that will be game over as Exca is able to reach the Rock Slide. Mamoswine came very close, but just not quite able to clutch the win. Great lead in the next match, Gyarados into Haxorus, and even better, the Haxorus is staying in. This means they must be pretty weak to Gyarados somewhere in the back. Hax is going to fire off the Dragon Claw and continue to farm. I'm going to fire off a charge move just before they reach their second Dragon Claw. I'm hoping Aqua Tail is going to KO. It barely does not, but I'm able to snipe with a lick from Snorlax. That's huge. My opponent is going to send in Exca, and honestly, Exca isn't the greatest response to Snorlax, so I'm guessing it very well could be Hax Double Steal with a Metagross in the back. I'm going to bait here, hoping my opponent is going to try and commit a shield, but my opponent makes a very nice read as they're able to successfully call my bait. However, I am a bit stubborn, so I'm going to bait again. I'm going for the Body Slam. This time I do get the shield. That is quite nice. The nice thing is I'm not in Drill Run range, so I can let this through. Drill Run is going to land. In comes the Metagross. Here, I should have just immediately switched to Gyarados, but I didn't realize my switch clock had come up, so I let myself get taken out. Not the greatest play ever, as I very easily could have just brought in the Gyarados, but either way, we still should be in a winning position here. I can commit the shield on the Meteor Mash just because my health is a little low, and then overfarm quite a bit with Gyarados. I'm going to fire off the Crunch onto the Metagross. Crunch is going to land. Aggressive switch into Mamoswine, and I get the snipe and the Powder Snow farm down. Back in comes Exca, and Exca has a very tough road ahead of it because Mamoswine is not in Drill Run range. So even if they do land a Drill Run, unfortunately, that's not enough to take me out. They're going to fire off the Drill Run. That lands. Mamoswine able to hang on, and from here, Mamoswine can very safely shield up, Powder Snow down, and that will be game over. Tough lead in the final match, Gyarados into Sylveon. Again, losing lead, I'm going to save switch into my Snorlax, and this is actually a quick attack Sylveon, and then my opponent responds with Beware. So my opponent running some serious spice. Beware has a lot of energy. They're going to fire off a superpower, and that deals a ton of damage. Before they reach superpower number 2, I'm going to return to fire with a Body Slam. Body Slam is able to get the shield. They're going to fire off their second superpower. This one, I will shield, because if possible, I do want to try and take switch advantage here. I'm going to farm up, and now I'm going for the kill shot, going for the superpower. Do they respect it? They do not, and down goes Beware. In comes Sylveon. Sylveon farming up some energy. Sylveon is going to fire off a charge move, and that works out nicely for me. Without Charm, it is a bit tough for Sylveon to farm things down, just because Quick Attack doesn't have nearly the same fast move pressure. Body Slam is going to land onto Sylveon. Sylveon is able to get the farm down, and now I'm going to send in Mamoswine. At the very least, Mamoswine has a neutral matchup here, compared to a pretty negative one if they're up against the Gyarados. We'll have to see what they have in back, and they have Darmanitan in the back, so the opponent definitely bringing some spice, and winning switch advantage proves to be massively useful. I'm able to get rid of Darmanitan. Back in comes the Sylveon. Sylveon will be met with the Aqua Tail from Gyarados. Aqua Tail is going to be getting the Sylveon low. Sylveon lets that through. And at this point, I should just be able to fast move down my opponent's team. They go for the Moonblast. That gets Gyarados low. Gyarados gets the Dragon Breath down. And that is a good game. All in all, High Horsepower is a very nice upgrade for Mamoswine in the Master Premier Cup. High Horsepower is a strictly better move than Bulldoze, costs the same energy, but just does a lot more damage, and it gives it win cons in matchups versus Pokemon like Metagross that it didn't previously have. So all in all, it makes Mamoswine a deadlier closer and a lot more flexible of a pick as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.